Welcome back to another episode of Ask Kati Anything. I'm your host, licensed marriage and family therapist, Kati Morton. I'm so glad that you're here. Today, I am joined by a new friend of mine, Jen Birn. And I would do a big introduction, but we're going to learn all about her. She's the editor of Austin Lifestyle Magazine, and she also runs her own PR firm. Is that fair to say? And like I said, we're going to learn all about her. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited because you are new to me. I also feel like I get to learn along. Like I know a little bit, but then we get expanded view.
Yes.
So let's start off by talking about where you were born and raised. I don't even know if I know that for sure. I have beliefs, but...
So my parents met at NYU, and I think I was conceived at NYU, but I lived in Texas until I was 12.
What part?
Houston.
Oh, fun.
Spring, which I've now learned is not actually Houston.
Oh.
It's like a suburb of Houston.
But still.
Yeah.
Houston area.
I went to Houston when I moved here. I'm like, let's drive by my old house. And it was 45 minutes away.
Oh, how
Houston
funny.
It's expansive. But I grew up in Spring, which is a really nice place to grow up. It's very suburban.
Yeah.
And then when I was 12, my parents moved back to New York.
Okay. And I had read in your bio that your grandparents are Holocaust survivors.
They are.
Tell me a little bit about that. I've always been curious if you feel like that affected your life. And I don't mean like their experience affected, but I think sometimes there's a ripple effect of like what we call transgenerational trauma or the way that your family talked about it, et cetera, et cetera.
So my grandparents met in a DP camp. My grandfather was in Auschwitz. My grandmother was in Dachau. And they met and got married in a DP camp. And then they stayed in Germany for a little while. My grandfather was a dentist. And they had my dad, who was born in Germany. And they got on a boat when my dad was 3 months old. They wanted to go to Israel, but my dad was too young. So they put him on a boat to New York. And they had no money, nothing.
Wow.
But what I learned, and it's actually funny, when my parents met, my dad's father was a dentist in Germany, but when he moved to the States, he was a dental assistant because he didn't have an American dental license. My dad's father was also a dentist. So my parents didn't know when they met and got engaged that my dad's father was the dental tech for my mom's father.
What a small world.
Right? But what I think I learned, my grandfather was just like such a happy guy, and my grandmother, well, she talked about the war and the stories, and she really missed her parents and her childhood. They were never victims. They never acted like victims. They were so strong. And I always thought whenever I was going through something bad, I was like, if they can go through that and live this full life and not act like victims, like nothing I go through will ever be that bad.
Do you think
I think it made me stronger. Like they say that DNA that comes over, I think more than the trauma, it's the survivalist in me.
Do you think that's what makes you kind of like this optimist?
I think of it. I think it's that you're grateful so much more for what I have because I realize it's like not so far removed in my family what they didn't have.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine. It's interesting, at least being able to meet them, hear from them, understand their stories, because I feel like some people don't realize what their past generations went through.
Yeah.
Like I remember my papa used to talk, my family was super, super poor, and my papa grew up with a dirt floor, and he talked about like how proud he was to be able to have a home and like how that was like the biggest deal, you know. And even when he was like a little kid, he'd like run around. He was like a gopher for the guys at the base, the Navy base.
Oh, wow.
And he'd go get like newspapers, and they'd pay him like a nickel or, you know. And it is interesting to hear their stories of survival. Obviously, like Holocaust.
But it's all relative to what you know.
But still, I mean, it's amazing that they met and got married in the camp. I mean.
Yeah.
Like, how long were they held? Do you know?
So after the war, they put them in DP camps were kind of like prisons also because there was like not a lot of food. There was like rampant sickness. But while they got reassimilated back into like where they came from, and most people didn't have families left. Like my grandmother, both of them, their whole families were killed. So they're the only ones left. So I think people were craving family and new connection. And that's why my grandmother was much younger than my grandfather too. But you get married to have a family, to have a person.
Yeah, and like rebuild your community, right? I think a lot of times I would assume you're like craving that.
Yeah.
Wild. So you born and raised outside of Houston, since they say it's not Houston, in Spring. Then they moved back to New York after you were grown?
No, I was 12 and my dad got a job offer in Australia and London and New York and Arizona. And I was like, I don't want to not have a president. I'm American. Where my mom wanted to move to London, my dad wanted to move to Australia, and they listened to don't listen to the 12-year-old. But my parents said, you're right, my grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins all lived in New York. So they thought it'd be nice, like, okay, we should be near our family. Let's move to New York. So we moved to Long Island for high school.
Okay.
Which my parents were not Long Island. They never really assimilated into that Long Island way of life. And I had a great childhood, but I also would never necessarily raise a family there.
What is Long Island? I mean, other than the accent, all I know is like Long Island.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I guess high school's high school. Wherever you go, kids are going to be kids. But it's a little catty. Like a little more keeping up the Joneses than some other places, I think.
Well, I think a lot of, I don't know if this is true. No offense to my New York or Long Island people, but it always felt like it was like a suburb in a way of New York, kind of.
It's like people in New Jersey. Where do you live? Oh, right outside of New York. So New Jersey.
Yeah. Did you, that 12 was a tough time to move.
Yeah.
Did you not want to move?
No.
Yeah.
I just had my first boyfriend. I was like I ran for treasurer like of all the high school when I was in like 6th grade or junior high when I was in 6th grade. So I had a good life in Texas at the time. So no, I didn't really want to move, but it wasn't. Yeah, and ultimately it was, I think it teaches adaptability too. So the 2 high schools combining when I moved there. So everyone from one school thought I was from another school thought I was from another school. So I just didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
It was an interesting time.
Definitely. I mean, I looked out, never had to switch schools growing up, but my husband did a lot. They moved a lot. And sometimes you stay in the same district and sometimes, they go across Canada. It seems like it teaches you to be quick on your feet. I always feel like my friends who moved a lot, like they're either super optimistic comedians. Like my husband's such a smart ass because he can like figure it out and get to know people.
Yeah.
What trait do you think it helped you create, or what was your adaptability in that time, do you think? Like how'd you figure it out?
Just looking now, I guess, from moving later in life, like just figure it out. Yeah, because even in Houston, we moved to a couple different schools, and I was just used to always being the new girl. I think in one of the schools, this girl, I still remember. It's amazing that little memories that stand out to you. But this girl, Becky Cruz, she was the most popular girl in school, and I was a shy little mouse. I was like 10 years old. And she's like, you have a really nice smile. You should smile more. I was like, oh. And then I just became this smiley, bubbly, extroverted person from that day forward. And I think that probably helped a bit.
Yeah, it's like that's kind of sweet of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're like, oh my God, you see me? Oh my God,
And we were just like 10 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. So interesting. Okay, so high school, we're in Long Island.
Long Island. My aunt and uncle and cousins lived in Long Island. And so we stayed with them for a few days while we were waiting for a house to be ready. And my parents and we went to the mall and shopping that day. And she asked, what did you do today? I was like, we went to the mall. She's like, what? I'm like, went to the mall? She's like, I'm like, the mall? The place with all the stores in it? She's like, oh, the mall.
Oh, she didn't know the mall.
And I was like, so before school started, my first time going to school, I practiced in the mirror, coffee, talk, mall. Because I didn't have a Texas accent, but I also did not have a Long Island accent.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh, mall.
Yeah. So when I went to college,
I was like, did they call it something different?
Fran Drescher from The Nanny. So I pressed talk, coffee.
That's so funny. It is a very strong accent. Yeah. I had seen this girl on TikTok where she was like, they wanted people from different parts of New York and the like suburbs to try to say this one sentence without an accent. And it's like, I'm going to take a quarter and I'm going to go to the corner and I'm going to get some coffee. And she's like, I'm going to take she goes, I can already hear it. She didn't even start. And I was like, those are very specific words, like the quarter to the corner and get some coffee. It's all very like, that's so funny. I can imagine just little you practicing your words.
Yeah.
And nobody sniffed it out? Did they feel like you said, they thought you went to the other school and the other ones thought?
Yeah. No one really
You
knew.
seemed like a local.
Yeah, ish.
What prompted you to decide to go to Arizona for school? Because New York to Arizona, that's quite a shift.
I wanted to go to BU. And BU was the only school I applied to. We went to a school trip like in 7th, 8th grade to Boston.
It's a beautiful
and
school.
Quincy Market and Boston. I'm like, I love it here.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go there. But when I lived in Texas, actually, we had to write to the state, like just like a letter. And I wrote to California. And I got this giant box sent to my homeroom class of magazines with beaches and sunsets. And I got the biggest box. So I was like, California wants me there. They love this too. So one day I'm going to live in California. So I'd only applied to Boston because I couldn't get into UCLA. And then my parents were looking through a college book and it said, if you don't mind blondes, this is school for you. And so I applied there too and got a partial scholarship. And I learned later, like, BU was like $38,000 a year. ASU was significantly less. So I went to ASU. But if I didn't go to ASU, I'd probably be a lawyer, not a journalist. So
Really?
it all worked out.
Why do you say that?
I was obsessed with magazines from having my Sassy and
I love
17
Sassy.
and
Love
like
17.
I was just obsessed.
That's like our generation.
Yeah.
I feel-
dating myself for sure.
Hey, no judgments. We're in the same boat. I'm like Sassy.
I loved like magazines and I always wanted to be a writer, but didn't think I had the talent to write. So it's like, I'll be a lawyer. I could debate. And I was going to go to Stanford Law School because I thought that's how I'll get to California. But at ASU, I was a waitress in a cocktail bar, and it was a music bar. And there was the Gin Blossoms used to play there.
Yes.
And there was a lot of media used to call and try to get interviews with them, and they wouldn't do it. And after the bar closed one night, I'm like, can I ask you some questions? And they're like, if you can get a job, Jen, sure. And so they gave me an interview, and I pitched it to the local newspaper, and they ran it on the cover. And then they offered me a job writing about music, not knowing that I was a sophomore in college.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Look
then,
at you.
Yeah.
I love the scrappiness. I'm hoping that our newer, like the younger generations are as scrappy as we were, because I feel like so many of my friends would do stuff like that where we would just like pretend. You just pretend you could do something until you figured it out.
Fake it till you make it.
Yes. Like, I mean, I'm not telling, this is like a secret. I mean, it's not going to hurt me now, but like I definitely lied on resumes and was like, I can do this. Yes. Oh, and you need that. I can figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm Excel competent.
Yeah.
Not Excel competent, but I will learn, you know?
It was, yeah, and lying by omission. I was like, okay. And they're like, can you review these CDs?
Yes.
And I had no idea what I was doing. And I was like, yep, I can do that. And what would take me 15 minutes now. It took me 4 hours then because I had no idea what I was doing, but I figured it out. And I feel like a lot of this generation just running internship programs, they just don't want to figure it out. And they don't have that. Just create. It was not even a question. I would have done like anything that someone's like, get coffee. I would have been happy to get coffee at the right magazine. Yeah. I never even had the opportunity because I got turned down for all my internships.
Me too. I got turned down for so many, I think 6 until I finally got an acceptance, like a placement, which also, by the way, internships aren't paid. So this was like,
and we were happy to work for free.
I was happy to, just excited to be there. The opportunity.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. Yeah. I was a waitress and a therapist for a long time because I wasn't getting paid to be a therapist. So interesting. Okay, so we got into ASU, was significantly cheaper. We ended up there. We ended up working at a bar.
Well, yeah, but between that, after my, when I went to ASU initially, I rushed a sorority and I was I had like
Are you in a sorority?
What I thought, no. But I had what I thought at the time was this Cinderella upbringing. I thought I had the perfect family. They had dinner together at 6 o'clock every day, go to college. After my first semester, my dad got sick and he was in a coma. And my mom gave me custody of my younger sister and said, if anything happens to your dad, then like I'm going to kill myself. So, and she slept at the hospital. So my sister was a junior and I was 19 years old and I stayed home for a semester. My dad got better, but we did lose all our money.
What happened to him?
They said he had pancreatic cancer. It was misdiagnosed. He had really aggressive pancreatitis and then a staph infection.
Ooh, pancreatitis is very dangerous. My mom's boyfriend had it. It took him out for like a year.
Yeah. So it was bad for a while, and he was in the hospital for a long time. So I was home waitressing at a local restaurant, taking care of my sister. And then when he got better and came back, I'm like, I want to go back to school. Yeah. There was no money to send me back to school. So my sister and my 16-year-old sister and I actually pooled our money from working at Bennigan's and little scraps from gifts from relatives. And I went back to Arizona, slept on my friend's couch who I'd met the one semester I was there, took the bus to community college.
Oh, yeah.
And until I could save up money to go pay for classes to go back to ASU.
And couldn't get loans or anything? Because I paid for all my own school through loans.
Yeah. Well, then I had applied for so I didn't think I'd need this. So then I applied. I didn't know when I would go back to school. So I missed. It was just I spent a semester at the community college
figuring it out,
and then I got cobbled together loans and everything for.
Yeah. Because it does take time.
Yeah.
To get.
So it was crazy, like in retrospect, but.
Well, and for your mom, what was the impact for your mom? when you got that call and your mom's like, here, you get custody of your sister.
Well, she just wasn't there. She's kind of checked out.
Well, clearly. I mean, she's like, I'm going to take my own life.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, gosh, I was always just trying to make everyone happy and laugh. So I probably had too many parties. And because I just wanted, so I just never thought about the implication of my sister because I just did the best I can. But it was 6 months and she turned out great, despite me.
Well, I mean, you went home, you took care of her.
But she had it harder because then my dad was home.
Thank you to Remy for sponsoring today's episode. I've known for a long time that I clench my teeth at night. My dentist has been very clear about how important it is that I wear a night guard because that clenching can do real damage over time. And I took that advice seriously. I actually spent about $700 on my last night guard from the dentist. And it did what it was supposed to do. But the cost and the whole process made it feel like something I'd only replace when I absolutely had to. That's why I switched to Remy. If you're part of the nearly 30% of Americans who clench or grind their teeth, your smile needs protection too. Remy makes custom night guards that are clinically tested and FDA cleared to help protect your teeth from grinding, reduce jaw tension and facial muscle strain, and improve sleep quality. You get the same professional quality and comfort as a dentist-made night guard, but Remy costs around 80% less and is much more convenient. No dental appointments, no long waits. Here's how it works. Remy sends an impression kit straight to your door. You follow the simple step-by-step instructions, send it back, and they craft and ship your custom-fit night guard. Then you just wear it at night and protect your teeth while you sleep. Start the new year right and use code Kati to get 50% off your purchase of a new night guard. That's 50% off at shopremi.com/Kati with code Kati. Thank you, Remy, for sponsoring this episode.
The best I can, but it was 6 months and she turned out great, despite me.
Well, I mean, you went home, you took care of her.
But she had it harder because then my dad was home on disability and she was taking care of the house a lot.
Oh, so even though...
And I was away at college, so I was oblivious and didn't even realize. So my sister looks back at her childhood a little bit different than I do.
That is always interesting with siblings because even though we grew up in the same house, we grew up with different circumstances because of the age difference.
Yeah.
So okay, just so I'm clear. So you went to school for a semester, then you withdrew temporarily. You went home to take care of your sister.
And just be there. We didn't know what was happening to my dad.
Yeah. And then he got out of the hospital. So you returned to school, go to community college, save up, figure it out, get loans, cobble it together like we all did.
Yeah.
And then go back. And your sister was 16, 17. So she had the last few years of her high school experience then colored by your father's illness.
Yeah.
And then you finished school. Did she go away to school? Or
she came to ASU her first semester.
Oh, funny.
And then realized after one semester, she didn't always want to be Jen Birn's sister.
Oh, interesting.
And so she transferred to Boston and went to Northeastern.
Yeah.
Which was the best thing ever because ASU turned out to be the perfect place for me because I spent the last 2 years of college writing about drinking for a living and going out for a living. And I parlayed that to career. She went to Boston to Northeastern was co-op. So you went to school a semester and then you did an internship a semester.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And when she was going to school, they were like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she didn't really know. But we grew up going to baseball games as a family, to Astros games all the time. And that was always like a positive memory we look back on. She's like, what do you like? She's like, I like baseball and numbers. So she created an internship for herself at the Red Sox in the accounting division. And when she graduated college, she actually ended up working for the Red Sox in accounting. And she was there when they won their first World Series in like 80 years and got a World Series ring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. So both of you and your sister are both resilient. Is your dad okay now?
He passed away like 13 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Do they think it was a complication with all the stuff that was going on?
He had a heart attack.
Oh, okay. That's how my dad died too.
Yeah.
A heart attack.
Okay.
I feel like it's kind of like your body is like, it gives up. Or that was what I thought for my dad.
I look back now, like my dad was my best friend. I talked to him every single day of my life that he was alive. And I always said, I don't know how I'll ever deal, like if he dies when I'm 90. But looking now, I think when he was sick that first time, he said he had a dream, like when he was in a coma, and his dad came to him and just said, it's not your time yet. And I think at the time, I was just starting school. My sister was in high school. My mom was not nearly as strong as she is today. She was going to work, and obviously she wasn't as strong. So we were all just not ready. And he died, I think, 10 years later. And I feel like that 10 years was a gift to us to get us to a place where we could survive if we had to.
Mm.
So it helps after, like, looking back now, like, oh, we got to have those extra 10 years. And by that time, he saw me become a successful journalist and even retire from journalism temporarily and start a PR company. He saw my sister win a World Series ring and graduate college. And my mom, like, was working and liked her job and was able to stand on her own 2 feet. So we were all in different places.
Yeah, it's like you got those 10 years not only to be with him, but to also figure out who you all are, like on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great outlook because losing a parent's really hard. And it is like a life-altering event in many ways. But it's all timing of life, right?
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So you mentioned that you went to a lot of parties. Is that your way of coping back then?
No, I went to ASU, which was
It's a party school.
Then it was like the
Just
number
call
one
it what
party
it is.
school.
No judgments.
And I mean, I had a fake ID at 16 years old. So, and I was a bartender, so that was normal. But then working at the magazine, it was the Daily Tribune's entertainment magazine I worked at the time. My job was to go to music and go to cover different events. And so it was like, if I could do this and get paid for it,
Yeah.
great. And then when I graduated, the publisher of the entertainment magazine of the Daily Tribune asked me to start selling ads the year before I graduated to the same places I was writing about, which this was a time in journalism where there was black and white. Those two did not play together at all. But I just wanted to learn, and I was technically still in college. So I was like, sure, I'll do that. And I did. I was making more money selling advertising. But I wrote a bad review about one of the advertisers because the bar was terrible. And he pulled advertising, and they canceled my column. But the Arizona Republic called and asked if I could do my column for them and be a features writer, which I was much younger than anyone on staff at the time. But
For people who don't know the difference, features versus writing a column, what's that difference?
So features was like a lifestyle story a week. My column was called Hanging with Jen. So this was before bloggers, before people are documenting their lives. It was about my experience. I went out here last night, and this is what I thought of this, versus a more subjective or objective lifestyle piece.
Gotcha. So it's like a promotion, kind of.
Yeah. And the Arizona Republic was just bought by Gannett, and it was the 8th biggest newspaper in the country at the time.
Wow.
So that was a big newspaper. Usually you need a lot more experience, but they wanted to bring a younger readership into the newspaper. So
it's almost like you getting them dropping your column was almost a good thing.
Yeah, because that was not a place I would stay long term, but the Arizona Republic is the place where people stayed their whole careers. But I spent my days emailing the editors of Maxim and my favorite magazines pitching stories because I wanted to move to New York and write for a big glossy magazine.
How did that shift happen? Because she made her dreams come true, everybody.
Yeah, well, I would, at the time, Details was a big magazine, but it went out of business because Maxim just the Lad Mags were a big...
Maxim gobbled everything up.
Yeah. So I would spend my days pitching Maxim stories, and one editor would write me back, this isn't right, but you're close. This isn't right. And I was close enough that he would take the time to respond to me. And I said, I'm going to New York to visit my family. And he said, why don't we get lunch while you're here? So I went to Maxim office and had lunch with him.
And those offices, I find New York offices like that to be, you feel so important, and it's such a big deal. I remember going to meet publishers for my book stuff, and there's all these different elevator banks, and some goes as 1 through 4 floor, and then this one's 9 through, and you're like, where am I going? And you have to check in, and they give you a badge, and it's so, I can't even imagine.
And you see all the pages of the magazine on the wall, and I was just like, he said, if you're serious about freelancing, move to New York and get back to Arizona. And a friend of mine from college said, we found this great, her and someone she interned with, found this great 3-bedroom, but not a 2-bedroom. You really should move to New York. So I went and gave my week notice, and I moved to New York. And it turned out the editor of Maxim wanted to date me, not give me a job. And the 3rd bedroom was a curtain between the kitchen and the dining area where I lived for 3 years. So I got a job bartending, and
any bar that still exists?
At the time, I was working at Castle FM. That's still there, actually. That's where I worked then. And then I was temping, so at Fox, working for this woman, Alex Gillespie, who then became the head of PR for American Idol.
Oh.
So I was temping at Fox, and then I loved bars from writing about bars so long. So there was one bar I wrote about when I lived in Arizona called the Royalton Hotel, the Bubble Bar. So I was like, let me go by and just check it out. So on the way home from work one day, I walked by and I'm in the bar, and somebody comes up behind me, and he's like, I need your look in my bar. And I was like, what? And mind you, right before I left Arizona, my friend cut my hair up to here and dyed it red.
Oh.
I never dyed my hair before. So my look was not me.
Mhm.
I was like, okay. And he didn't know I bartended before or anything, but he was attractive. I was like, oh. And I bartended it. I was like, okay, and then I gave my card. I went home and told my roommates, I met the hottest guy and he wants me to bartend in his bar. And it was this place called Minaret that was co-owned by Sean Penn and Johnny Depp.
I was like, that was a big deal back then. Yes.
Minaret in Paris.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And my roommate Jason said he doesn't sound straight. I was like, yes, he is. Anyway, he was not. But I went and worked there for a year. And just, I mean, this is such a side note, but then he actually lives here now and owns Barton Creek and is a good friend of mine still.
Funny.
Yeah.
Life is so funny that way.
Yeah.
So still bartending.
Oh, so I was still bartending. And then I went to Tiki Room, and then my dad said to me, are you a bartender who writes or a writer who bartends? Because bartending in New York at the time, you make
good money.
Great. Like I was making $500 cash a night. And that was a lot better than a starting journalist.
Mhm.
So I quit bartending one New Year's, and I sent out a classified ad for myself. I called it. I just emailed all the editors of all the magazines I liked and said, I can turn around a story in a day. I worked at a local newspaper. I can write about anything. And some wrote back, can you really write about anything? And Glamour called, and they let me write love horoscopes for Glamour. And I wrote for Blender about random things in a judicial magazine. And then I went to a pitch conference, like a little entertainment talk where you could pitch the editors. And it was In Touch Weekly, Entertainment Weekly, TV Guide. And I pitched a story and they all wanted it. And that editor I actually talked to today that gave me my first In Touch story.
Oh, funny. You never forget those people who give you your first opportunities.
Yeah. So then I just started freelancing for all of the celebrity weeklies. I was doing red carpets for In Touch and Star and People.
So you'd be the person on the red carpet, interviewing, or you'd write it? Wow.
Yeah. So
I've always thought those people were so cool. I always wanted that job because I don't think I'd be good at it, but I always think it's really fun and
It was fun. And it was a time. There was no Instagram then. So it was just you really interviewed people and wrote about it, and the life cycle lived longer because there also wasn't blogs then. And it was a golden little era of journalism. And when I went to college to be a journalist, I'm like, I'll make 60. I think the editor-in-chief of Details at the time was making $65,000 a year. And I thought that was the pinnacle.
Wow.
And while this was happening, Bonnie Fuller went to Us Weekly and said, I want $1 million. And then she went to Star and demanded a lot of money. And then Jenna Spin. So all of a sudden the weeklies became super competitive. They were demanding money. So my editor at Glamour, my editor at In Touch, and my editor from Details, they all went to Star Magazine when Bonnie Fuller left Us Weekly and went to Star to make it not a tabloid. And they offered me a job. I'm like, well, if I'm ever going to go staff somewhere, it's this is the perfect setup. So then I went staff at Star to work for Bonnie Fuller.
What was that like?
It was, again, it was fun. So because I also bartended, and my roommate at the time worked at Lotus, which was a big club at the time. He was in college at Fordham and just modeled gorgeous, working at Lotus. We hung out a lot. So we would go to Bunga Lake, go to Lotus, and people knew me as nightlife, not as a celebrity reporter. So I would get into all these bars, and it was a great place to make contacts and write about everything. So then I'd go roll into work whenever I woke up.
You were like Carrie Bradshaw, but your own version. It just reminds me of her.
And it was the time of Sex and the City.
Yes.
And I did spend my,
I'm so jealous, 22-year-old me who was watching Sex and the City religiously.
Yeah.
I was in Santa Monica. I can't really complain where I was, but I've always had this infatuation with New York. I think because that was we grew up with that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when the final episode aired, I was in college. This is dating me now, but I think I was was I a sophomore in college? I think when the final season aired, or the final episode.
Yeah.
And it just like, I feel like it colored a lot of like my beliefs about New York and like my infatuation with it. And even you saying like Bungalow 8 and stuff, I'm like, oh my God. Like it's very much her and like that story that they told.
Yeah. Well, when I worked at Man Ray, no restaurant's ever ready to open on the opening day. But because it was such a high-profile restaurant, they had events booked out, including the season premiere of Sex and the City. So there was a downstairs, and the stairs weren't done. It was just a big hole in the ground. So the fire department actually said they couldn't open yet. So the party, they made the theme, people had to wear hard hats, and they still hosted the party for the premiere of Sex and the City.
And people probably thought it was such a cute idea.
Oh, yeah.
But it was more for safety than anything else. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I did spend my last dollar like buying my Manolo Blahniks. And when I moved to LA, one reason was I'm doing well now, like by that point. I was like, all I have to show for it is a shoebox apartment and some really good shoes.
Yeah. So when you decided to leave New York, what happened there and where were you working and what was that process?
So I always wanted to move to LA. It wasn't if, it was when.
Because when you were younger, you were like, how do I get to California?
Always.
I'll go to law school out there. I'll do this out there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I started on the launch team of OK Magazine. I was working OK, and it was shortly after we launched, Virgin America was launching. And a friend of mine who knew I loved California called and said, do you want to come on the launch flight for Virgin America? And it was Stephen Colbert Air, they were calling it. He was going to be on the flight. I'm like, I can't write about Stephen Colbert. He's not really our audience. So I can't really do it. And he's like, I only asked you because I know you love California. Yeah. And then I felt ungrateful. I was like, okay, I'll go. And the flight, there was a tornado in Brooklyn that day. So I was taking a car to the airport and they couldn't get to the airport because it flooded. So I had to get dropped off, take AirTran. And they want to take off relatively on time, even though it was bad weather, but half the people weren't there for the takeoff.
They're stuck.
Because, they couldn't get there. But we took off with a barely half-full flight. And it was a lot of the tech people that did the in-flight entertainment. And Stephen Colbert even missed the flight. And Richard Branson was there. And I knew a little bit about Richard Branson, but not enough to be intimidated. So he went. I was sitting there reading my New York Post. It was early. There were a few people reading OK because we were the new magazine at the airport. And Branson came down and introduced himself. And I was like, I have this idea.
Thank you to Function Health for sponsoring today's podcast. Here's the thing about New Year's resolutions. Nearly 80% fail by February. And that's not because people don't care or aren't trying hard enough. It's because most of us are making changes without really understanding what's going on inside our bodies. Things like hormone imbalances, chronic inflammation, thyroid issues, or stress markers can quietly undermine your health goals without you realizing it. This year, I'm really focused on being more intentional about my health and energy, not guessing, but actually understanding what my body needs. That's exactly why I chose Function Health, and it's the only health platform that gives you access to over 160 lab tests covering hormones, metabolism, heart health, inflammation, stress markers, and even toxins. You can also add MRI and chest CT imaging, and everything is tracked securely in one place over time. It's a level of insight most people never get. There's a reason why health leaders like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Andrew Huberman, and Dr. Jeremy London are behind Function. When you stop guessing and start measuring, everything changes. Your health goals finally have a real foundation. I personally use Function, and I value having this level of insight into my health. Own your health for $365 a year. That's $1 a day. Learn more and join using my link. Visit functionhealth.com/Katie and use gift code Katie25 for a $25 credit toward your membership.
We were the new magazine at the airport. And Branson came down and introduced himself. And I was like, I have this idea. I was like, we're a new British magazine. You're a new British airline. Why don't you make OK Magazine your in-flight magazine? He's like, it's a great idea. Richard Desmond, who owned OK at the time, says, okay, let's do it. I was like, okay. And then I sent him this whole proposal. He gave me his email address, which I didn't know wasn't customary at the time. Sent a whole proposal. And he said, meet me at the Box at 6 o'clock Thursday. And the Box was a burlesque bar around the block from my house in New York at the time. I was like, okay. Went there and he was at a table with the CEO and the director of communications. And he's like, this is Jen. She works with us. And so,
what a big fucking deal. Like, you just have to take a minute to be like, oh my God, you just put it out there. Like you said, not enough to be intimidated. It's funny when you don't know who people are really. You can just...
Yeah, I remind myself that a lot, like channel the naivety of just a child, because we learned fear, I think.
I agree.
Yeah. So that Monday she called me. She's like, "So what do you do for us?" I was like, "I just had this idea." And she's like, "Well, we're doing all our launch parties since you write about events and all that stuff." She goes, "Can you help us, like, what we should do for our events and how we get celebrities there?" And it was easier to do it myself and explain to them how to do that. So I signed a contract with them, Free Flights for Life, to consult for them. And then I was like, well, I can fly to LA, New York anytime I want. So I went and told my editor, "I'm moving to LA." And she's like, "Well, I don't know if I want you to move to LA." I was like, "Then I'll go work at Us Weekly."
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And so they let me move to LA. And I went and worked in the LA office of OK Magazine.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've got some, chutzpah or whatever.
Yeah.
I would say balls, but chutzpah's like a little nicer.
Yeah.
Okay, so wanted to move to LA, pitched Richard Branson. Do you still email with him?
Well, he, like, most of my life, like, that changed my life, was because I moved there and then I was working at OK and I was running the West Coast office, but magazines were quickly changing. Blogs started, so it became more gotcha journalism. Instagram started. Like, everything was just changing and getting gossipy in a place that I would write a lot of the inside of the magazine, the real interviews and do the photo shoots, but I didn't do those really hardcore gossipy things. But that was the headline on the cover of the magazine. So I started getting a little more uncomfortable with how things were going. And being in the West Coast office, it was kind of the stepchild office. You don't have as much controls when you're in headquarters. So I took a class at UCLA, Finding Your Inner Muse, just to, like, tap into my creativity again, because I was writing, like, glorified headlines for a living. And I just realized the professor said, she was, "Go do nothing for as long as you can this weekend. That's your assignment." I was like, "I don't want to do that." So I went and got a massage and sat in a sauna. And she's like, "But whatever you do," she was like, "in your quiet time, don't do anything crazy, like decide to quit your job." So I'm sitting there in sauna, and I guess that was my subconscious. And I was like, "I'm going to quit my job." And I was recently offered a job, like, Us Weekly, and Hollywood Life was launching, and they offered me a job. And so it wasn't completely crazy, but I was like, you know what? I had Free Flights for Life from Virgin. Virgin Australia launched, and they were paying me a monthly retainer. And so I was like, I'm just going to quit my job and, like, take the summer and figure it out. That, like, right after I was going to breakfast, lunches, and dinners, like, it was my job. Everyone I didn't have time to, like, get lunch with, they're like, "Let's get together." And this guy, Jeff Beecher, he had a burlesque show called Beecher's Madhouse, which was really popular. And he was partnering with David Arquette to relaunch it as this big thing. And they're like, "Come work for us." It's like, part of why I wanted to quit my job was to have, like, a little bit more normal semblance of life, not out till 4 a.m. But I took that job working for David and Beecher, and, like, helped them launch Beecher's Madhouse. And then a tech guy who started a website that was called tonic.com on Good News. He's like, "Come work here." So I wrote Good News for tonic.com. It's like a soul cleansing for all the years I didn't write about the charitable aspects of all the things I covered. And I just started taking projects as I thought, like, I could move the needle and help them, and they were interesting to me until I figured out what I wanted to do.
How did you figure out what you wanted to do? By doing other things?
Well, yeah, so I kept just doing those things. And then with Virgin Australia, their agency was CAA. So I would go in once a month to CAA and have a meeting together, because I was a consultant. They were the agency. And I loved going in there. It was like the Death Star. You dress up and you're like my only business suit. And I would just say my ideas, and they would then assign people to execute them. I'm like, this place is amazing. And they had Coca-Cola. Every big brand is repped by CAA. So it was amazing. And then my dad passed away, and shortly thereafter, CA called me and said they had a job opening and said, "Come in." And it was, like, literally that next day, like, "Come tomorrow." And you go into, like, round robin interviews, like three
from one room to the
right
next.
after another, in and out, in and out. And the last interview, they're like, "We think you're great and we'd love to maybe hire you, but our only concern is we don't think you want this job." And I was like, and I think, like, a little of my sales were deflated because my dad just passed away. And I was also making more money than I ever had, just cobbling together, working all these different projects. And I was working at home and on my own schedule. I was going to Pilates at noon when I'd always just worked so much. And I was like, I don't know if I do. And so when you turn down what you think might be your dream job, you just figure it out on your own. So I've just been taking projects like they're interest to me, and I think I can do them since. And that was 13 years ago.
Wow, 13 years you've had your own. It's interesting. I do think,
2012.
yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But there is something to like not like bucking the trend kind of. Like I feel like even for me in my career process, what I do didn't exist also. Like when I
Yeah.
was in school, like the internet. I mean, we had the
Yeah.
internet, but it was like, I mean, Facebook came around when I was like a freshman in college, and you had to have an email address from a school to join.
Right. Oh my God.
That's how old I am. And no YouTube, no Instagram, definitely no TikTok, no Snapchat, nothing.
Mhm.
And so this job that I've cobbled together was not a job. And I find it really interesting for other people who like buck trends and like do their own thing. It's, first of all, those are my people because,
Yeah.
we're a certain kind of person. But there is, I don't know if you feel this way. I feel like it's simultaneously thrilling and terrifying.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're like adrenaline junkies. I am an adrenaline junkie. So I'm like, I think it probably is. Cause like if you were like, Katie, I really want to go skydiving. I really want you to go with me. I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I'd totally do it. Even though I'd be terrified, I'd be like
Right.
also excited.
I just said last weekend, I love aviation and planes. Jumping out of a plane is nothing I ever aspired to. But if Richard Branson, on the show, he did say, have people jump out of a plane. If he says, will you jump a plane? I'm like, sure. Yeah.
Same.
But it's like kind of the sense you do what you have to do. Also, where I feel like a lot of people now, even all the interns, when I ran the internship program at OK, or like now I get interns from UT, like sometimes like, oh, I have tennis, or I haven't gone to the gym yet today. Or I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
And turn down opportunities like go to these events to interview talent or go do a red carpet. It's just, oh, that's really late. I was like, oh.
Interesting.
Yeah.
See, I haven't worked with I don't have interns.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to, but there's with like licensure and having a therapeutic, based thing, like there's certain check boxes I have to check that I don't. But it's interesting you say that because I feel like your story is so interesting to me just because so much of it is just you taking opportunities and being like, yes, just saying yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that all the good things in my life have come from times when I said yes, and I don't really know why I said yes, but I did. Like even meeting my husband was one of my friends. Her name was Jen.
Mm-hmm.
In graduate school, we both had recently broken up with our boyfriends, and we'd just been a couple months of us being like, womp, womp. And she was like, this has to be the summer of yes. Like, if you're going to say no, you better have some good reason. This is more like, yes, I'm going to do that. We're going to go on adventures. We're going to explore. And so she invited me to go. Her baby brother was 19. I was 24 at the time. Her baby brother was graduating from the fire academy. And she's like, come down to Orange County with me. We're going to go to his graduation. I'm like, they're children. She's like, it's the summer of yes, Katie. Come with me. And I was like, okay. I've never been to Orange County. People from LA don't really go to Orange County. I'm like, okay. And that's how I met Sean. He was at the pub we went to like afterwards. And
that's so cool.
It was the summer of yes. And I didn't want to go.
I believe saying no is a luxury that you do later. So like Richard Branson always said, screw it, just do it. And that was the name of his book. And that's what he always says. And he told me, he's like, always just say yes. You never know what will happen for yes. And so I went through just always saying yes. And then I think you get to a point, you learn how to say no, but it's a luxury to be able to say no because you discover and get more by saying yes. Mm-hmm. And then you learn self-care and balance. And
I was just going to ask about boundaries because we talked about this the other night a little bit. And you said, well, I don't have any. And that's what's been really hard for me. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I have balance, but not boundaries, if that makes sense. So even when my interns, when I hire people, I always said a few things like, look at your friends now. These are your friends. Like, don't get too caught up in everything. And balance, like just always try to keep that balance because it's really easy to get burnt out. And journalism more PR. Like I've just seen a million people get burnt out and cycle through. And so I've been really precious about 8 hours sleep for the past like 15 years. There's certain things like my morning routine, like that's not negotiable. The working, like my time, selfish time, I call it to work out. It shouldn't be called selfish time. It should just be time.
Yeah. It's like basic self-care.
Yeah.
Essentially.
But then boundaries I don't have. Like I'll answer a client call at like 5:00 on a Saturday. I will do the thing like on a Sunday. Like, so I don't have boundaries in that. I think that's what made me different at first. When I started a boutique PR company, consulting company early, what set me apart from an agency and why so many startups hired me is I'll be there to like hold your hand and be there 24/7 which a lot of founders need. And that from an agency, you're there. You don't always get that.
That's true. It almost is like, well, it's boutique. It's almost like, hopefully they're paying a premium because it's premium service.
It took me a while to learn.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure. And I think in general, we learn as we go,
Mhm.
obviously. But yeah, it sounds, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be therapist. I'm going to push back a little bit on the balance, but not boundaries, because I don't
Yeah.
believe one can exist without the other.
Yeah.
I would say that you do have certain things that you do, like sleep,
Yeah.
which, I mean, obviously we have to, but some people don't take care
Yeah.
of themselves, so that's fair. You have a couple non-negotiables, period. I think that's it. I don't know if I'd call it balance.
Yeah. So I might, yeah. I think balance is a practice
Yes.
always working on. But then, like, I realized a point like, a couple of years ago, I'm like, I'm almost content. But that, as good as that feels, it almost makes me uncomfortable. Like, when I get through my whole to-do list, rather than feeling accomplished, I feel like I didn't set the standards high enough that day. Like,
Do you think because I'm like, now I'm projecting onto you. This is my issue, and I'm asking if it like resonates with you.
yeah.
Do you feel like your worth is tied up in your productivity? Because that's my problem, and that's something that I struggle to do also.
I mean, I've never had to answer that question, so I guess would I feel that I had as much value as if I would just decided to take a sabbatical?
Yeah,
No,
or like,
probably.
yeah, like if you, let's say you didn't, you have like a week where you just don't have a ton to do. How would
And
that?
make me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I never really went anywhere without my laptop until I met my fiance, and I'm like, okay, we'll go to Paris, and I will not take my computer out the whole 4 days we're here. And
Okay.
it's nice, but it's new for me. Like, he's forced me to be more present because I choose to be now. But yeah, he also understands this part. I like to work. I like the rush and adrenaline of doing something and accomplishing something. I enjoy it, so I feel like I don't always think of it as work and as a compromise. I'm like, well, I like it, but I'm sure there is something more there.
Yeah, because I'm that way too. Like, we were talking before we even started filming, we were in the lobby waiting, and I was like, I don't have a crazy busy week. It's like moderate,
Mhm.
and it feels weird. Like, I actually prefer it to be a little bit crazier, which is just interesting for me to even notice and interesting for me to recognize, because I know that I feel like I have to earn like attention. I have to earn love. I have to earn, everything's like a hustle.
Yeah.
Like, I have to hustle to earn my worth almost.
Hmm.
And I think it's just, I think we end up burnt out, people like us, because
Yeah.
of that. Or what? Maybe it's not the same for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised I haven't got burnt out. But the earning, like, whenever I get a massage once every 6 weeks or so, and that day I'm like, I have to have a hard workout to earn my massage.
Oh, funny.
So it's like, yeah, because I like a deep tissue massage. And I'm like, well, I have to be really sore. I have to earn getting a massage. So that's funny.
Yeah.
That. But I like so many things. I want to do so many things, and I'm always running against the clock. Like, the clock is my biggest enemy. I never have enough minutes
Yeah.
to do all the things I want to do. And then even I love reading, so then I'll stay up too late reading, but then I need
Need your sleep.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, no, it is interesting. I was at a dinner the other night, the one that you were going to go to, but you didn't end up having the time. And one of the women there was talking about how when people ask for her time, and she made this like gesture with her hands, like she's cupping something like really precious.
Yeah.
And she's like, you want some of this? I don't know if I have enough of it. And I loved her doing this.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it is our most finite resource.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me until, recently, like 2 years ago, to realize that I get to spend it however I want,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have to just toss it out to everybody.
Yeah.
Because I've always just tossed it about like it's like I have endless amounts, but that's actually the like little precious thing, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of like this the saying no.
Well, it was really hard for me. That dinner was a perfect example. I said,
I
"Can
was
I get
proud
back
of
to you
you.
tomorrow?" Because I knew I was like, I have this one night to stay home. And when I looked at my calendar, it was like every night something. That one night, nothing. And she asked me like 2 days before, but she's like, "It's gonna be a great dinner of like inspiring women." And I was like, "That I'd always say yes." So I was like, I just don't know, and I needed to like sit with it. And I'm like, okay, I just need to like give myself a day. And I was proud of myself for
I
saying
was
no.
really proud.
And I was afraid when I met her at your book signing and she came up to me, I'd be like, oh, never mind, I can come. Because that's just so me. But then I was home that night in my pajamas at 9:00. And
I was glad. I texted you when I was leaving. I was like, "Are you going to be there?" No, I hope you're not, but I'm just checking because I don't know anybody else. And I was proud of you for saying no.
And that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes it's a luxury to say no after, because the hustler in me too, when I'm like always looking to connect someone for another interesting project or like to do something, was like I have to be at all the things, because I always said if you go out, your life can change, but if you stay home, your life will be exactly like it is, like right now, tomorrow. But now I'm kind of okay with my life being exactly like it is tomorrow sometimes. So it's the luxury of no, I think.
Yeah, almost like you're content in some ways.
Yeah.
Does that feel uncomfortable, comfortable?
Both, I guess. I mean, there's definitely a comfort to it, because it used to be always go out, you don't know. Like I was single until late in life. So it's like you don't know if that's the night you're going to meet your future husband, or that's the night you're going to find like your next client. So now that I'm like not seeking as much and feel like, okay, I can stay home and just like, I never watched a lot of TV, and we watch TV now. And I used to think that was a guilty pleasure. I'm like, it's not. It's just enjoyable. Like, why can't I just like accept that I enjoy just spending time together without our phones, watching TV?
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a new Jen.
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I did not talk about your book. She also wrote a book. So tell us about it. How did it come to be? And also, in random funny story, we learned that we shared the same literary agent for a period of time before she left UTA. Because when you said CAA, I was like, oh yeah, I had meetings with them, but I ended up at UTA.
Yeah.
And when she left to do her own thing, go JL, we love JL, she had to let go of a lot of authors, and you being one of them.
Yes.
But tell us about your amazing book, and where can people find it? What's the name? All that good stuff.
Okay. So it's called Chasing Sunsets Down I-80. And that's because one of my best friends was an NFL player, and he was playing for the Cincinnati Bengals. His name's Dhani Jones. And we were having dinner at Yatai, a sushi spot that's now gone in LA. And he was saying he had an idea for a movie. Like he was retiring. And he's like, 2 twins separated at birth. I was like, you have to do more than that. That's cliche. And you should do a book first, because it'll get greenlit faster. Not true. We learned a lot of lessons, and that being one of them. But he said, okay, if you write it, I'll do a book first. Come to Cincinnati if you're serious. So I went to Cincinnati for about a week. We came up with all these ideas. And part of it was our characters take a road trip from Chicago to Truckee, California, a couple times in the book. Yeah. So we decided to do the road trip like we were our characters. So we mapped out just from Chicago to Truckee and picked the names of cities we liked along the way, like Loveland. Oh, that's a beautiful sounding name. Colorado Springs. And just mapped it and did the road trip. So I'm a terrible driver, do not like driving. I have a little Audi TT, and when Dhani would come to LA, he would get in the driver's seat of my little Audi TT rather than be in the car with me driving. So safe to say, when we did this road trip, I did not drive a mile. He drove the whole time. But he didn't tell me until we got in the car that he does not like driving at night. I was like, what?
Oh.
So we only drove during the days. So every day we're driving west, chasing the sunsets. So originally our name of our book was Bashert.
Oh, I love Bashert.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like meant to be.
Meant to be. Yeah. But then we thought like that was the working title until like nearly the end. But we thought, I mean, the world is different now, and that might be a little polarizing, and people won't know what it meant.
That's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because Bashert's a beautiful word.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just hate that things are the way
we
they are.
We named our production company Bashert Productions.
I love it.
Yeah. So Chasing Sunsets Down I-80.
Cute.
And I always wanted to do a story on my grandparents' story. But when I went to Florida after I quit my job to get my grandmother's stories, they were just fragmented. So I didn't have enough. And she did the Spielberg tapes. So I had on tape like hours of her talking about those stories. But it still wasn't enough for a complete book. So we used their backstory as the beginning of the story. And then rather than just have my dad in Germany, she's pregnant when they get on the boat, and it's twins. Okay. And then it's ultimately the separate lives of these twins.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. And where can people get this book?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, online retailers. The audiobook should be out actually in April.
Wonderful. Yeah. Was it hard to write that long of a book? Because you do shorter form usually.
Yeah. So I thought it would be a lot harder. But as I started, we outlined a little on the road trip. We wrote like the highlights. And I was always worried, will I know what the people are going to do next. But I kind of just felt like I knew the characters, and it was never really, I never had writer's block, like what's going to happen next. If anything, it was too long.
She had to
And-
cut half of it,
Yeah.
which I can't even imagine. I don't write fiction, obviously. I write nonfiction.
Yeah.
But I've been asked to like split chapters in two.
Mhm.
And I've been asked to get rid of certain stories or paragraphs, or I cannot imagine being asked to cut half because it's like it's like your baby.
Yeah. It's
Your
like kill
book
your
baby.
darlings.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they say, you're not supposed to, I don't know. I'm like, you're not supposed to fall in love with anything, right? Because you might have to
Yeah.
get rid of it like that. But kill your darlings.
Yeah, and I didn't like reading it now that I've like stepped away for a while. There's one character even they said I don't need, and I use like you can see one you might have used as a crutch to progress the story, and I still like it. But when we wrote it, we used like I'll write it all, and then I'll cut what doesn't work and add the flowery writing. And then by the time I cut it, it was just like, okay, this is what's here. So it's a really good story. The writing's fine, like it's good, but I'm excited for it to hopefully be a movie one day.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like we got to put it out there into the world.
But I love the story.
Yeah.
It's a quick read. I want it to be like a beach read with a little bit of depth. So I only read Nicholas Sparks' books for a year.
And I've read his.
Yeah.
I went through a Nicholas Sparks phase.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, I just shifted out. But it is like an easy
same.
read.
But it was just, the easy read. And when the head of creative for the production company read it, she's like, this is like a cross between The Notebook and Sliding Doors. And I was like, you get it. Because she didn't know I only read Nicholas Sparks. And then she went on to create Jenny and Georgia. So,
oh, wow. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
So what's happening this year, 2026 for Jen? What are we looking forward to?
Well, I recently started working with a company called Ways to Well. And I'm excited about that because I'm on this, my fiance and I are big into biohacking and longevity. He really wants to live to 100. He's gotten me up to like 94.
As long as I'm living well, I don't care.
Yeah. But that's what this does, basically. We watched Chris Hemsworth's docuseries on biohacking, and then we started doing all of those things. And Ways to Well, they're just ahead of the curve on innovation for all the biohacking and living well and being healthy before you get sick. So doing all the blood, there's more I was like, there are ways to be, so many easier ways to be healthy, from like just cutting out unprocessed food to just knowing you're like getting a blood test and knowing taking a supplement could change like everything how you feel. Like people are tired and they accept being tired, but you don't have to.
Maybe their vitamin D is low.
It's just like a simple fix for so many things. So this is just making it normal to learn more about your body. And they're trying to make it more affordable and accessible to more people.
It is actually not that expensive. I was surprised. And it's interesting because Sean and I have looked at Ways to Well because we were very, very interested in the same things. And I think something I've been thinking about lately is how we turned the word healthy into almost like a bad word. Because I'm an eating disorder specialist. I don't know if you know that about me. Because of that, I've always been like, oh, I don't want people saying like healthy because that means things are healthy and unhealthy. And then that's judgment around food and activities. But health is wealth. And like to take care of yourself and to be healthy and to choose things that are healthy for you isn't a bad word. I think it's when like consumerism or when capitalism gets behind it and they want to make money off of this health, where Ways to Wells is like, you do your blood work and you see where things are maybe different for you. And then, like you said, maybe a supplement can change your life. Like I'll never forget, I was worried that Sean, my husband, was super depressed or something was wrong and he had like no energy. And I was like, maybe low testosterone. We just didn't know. Yeah. He had no vitamin D. His vitamin D was like almost in the negatives. It was so crazy. Yeah. And they put him on this intense supplement, let's say like 50,000 milligrams or something. Yeah. And in a week, he was like a brand new person. And crazy. So you just never know. And so I really do love the Ways to Wells and the things that like preventative care. Because the more I learn about healthcare in our system, the more annoyed I get because it's like they make more money off us being sick. And that really pisses me off.
This is like preventative, proactive care because the founder, Brigham, was actually a pharmaceutical sales rep, and he saw how broken the system was.
Yes.
And he started Ways to Well and a pharmacy to try to like do his part to fix a broken system and make it accessible and affordable to more people and to make it so you don't get sick and need more things.
Yeah.
Like even they're the number one stem cell clinic in the country. And one stem cell injection, like people have arthritis and like can't function, and pain is like the word. People don't realize how bad having an injury or an illness is until you have an injury and illness. And that and for some people, like one shot of stem cells is like changes. You never need another one.
Yeah, it's really wild. So,
Yeah.
okay, excited about
so I'm
that.
excited about that. I'm getting married this year.
I know. I wasn't going to tell them, but if you want to tell them, it's so exciting.
Yeah. I keep leaning in and away from my age this year. So I'm actually turning 50 this year.
You are? How
so
exciting.
I'm like, I'm getting married for the first time at 50.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But I have no regrets because it was really fun, but I'm also really excited for another
That's
chapter.
wonderful. I know. And I think we used to be like, being our age. But what a privilege to
I've
get.
learned like aging is a privilege.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and I'm excited, and I'm like age 50, I feel 32. My blood work says I'm the age of a healthy 32-year-old.
Well, that's awesome.
But yeah, so I just think 50 isn't what it used to be.
Not at all.
If you have a good health span.
Sean's already there. He can tell you what it's like. He's so far been tickled, I think. That's exciting. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you for spending time with us and talking about your story. I'm like, I learned so much. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.